for buses, and they had no choice but to stand there in line while the same characters. Awesome plan, it worked.
Did the security guy give you a hard time?
No security gives us a hard time. That's very polite.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I need to get up. Did we leave off yesterday?
Yes.
Where we left off?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Eat a glass. Start introduction prayer, page 1. Omagana Brahmadasya Jnana Jnana
Shavakaya Chakshurahitaya Zeshamriguna Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Satam Yena Bhutale Vayam Karavayam Narati Swapam Tikam.
I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Live with freely moved Swami, who is established within this material world, mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, giving shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Guruji Padakanam Shri Guna Vaishnava Shri Rupa Sakrata Sahakana Raghunatha Sajivam Savitam Sadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahakana Lita Shri Vishkas Krishna. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto all feet of all Vaishnavas. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das, Radhavata, Gopala Bhatta, and Sri Rajiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivastava, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu Vilakate, Gopisha, Gopika, Kanta, Radha, Kanta, Namasute. Oh, my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. Offer respectful obeisances unto you. Tapa Kantana, Dharmamani, Radhe, Vishvasvare, Vishvanusate, Devi, Pranamane, Venkarye. Offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold and who is like Queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vishvanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vansha Kalpa Tarvescha, Kripa Sindhu Vayasvescha, Vadinam Vadnavayo Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha. Offer my respectful obeisances unto all Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like Desire creeds, that you are full compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Bhakti-Gaura Offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Bhakti and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are on chapter 6, Sankhya Yoga, starting at text 37 today.
What page?
What page in those books there?
Just a second. Page 347 in the big book.
Arjuna Vacha Yatta Saratyopita Yoga Chalita Manasha Aparitya Yoga Samitsidam Kamdatam Krishna Gacchati. Translation. Arjuna said, what is the destination of the man of faith who does not persevere, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness, does not attain perfection in mysticism. Text 38. Kachinno bhaya viparashta chinna bharam ibadashyati apatishto mahaprabho emudo brahmana patahi. Translation. O mighty Arm Krishna, does not such a man, being deviated from the path of transcendence, perish like a ribbon cloud with no position in any sphere? Text 39. Ittame samsayam Krishna chittam aryasya asya satta tvaranya samsayasya chittanahi upayatyate. Translation. This is my doubt, Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for yourself, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Text 40. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Karta Navyana Mutra Enasya Tasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krite Kashit Viraktam Tata Kachati. The Blessed Lord said, son of Pritho, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction, either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Text 41. Prapya punya kritam lokam ushrita shaspati sama sujinam srimatam yehe yoga prasto vidyate. Translation. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of aristocracy. I'm sorry, having problems pronouncing that. Text 42. Atmana yogina meva ube bhavati dimam mattam itare gurabhataram bhukti jamam yatitasam. Translation. Or he takes his birth in a family transcendentalists who are truly great in wisdom. Surely such a birth is rare in this world. Text 43. Prakritam buddhi samyogam bhavati nirvati ikam yatate chatato goya samisto guru nandana. On taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Guru. Text 44. Ruvagayakshina tinada yatehi apastopisha ijinyatsu api yogasya savat brahma vitate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist striving for yoga stands always above the ritualist principles of scriptures. Text 45. Pratyanta yatmanastu yogi samasuda kilitata nika dhamma samsiddhavas tato yati param gatim. But when the yogi engages himself in sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, and ultimately, after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Text 46. Tapasrit payogiko yogi, yani yogi matto dikka, kami bayas chariko yogi, tasmas yogi bhavat. Oh, yogi, a yogi is greater than the atheistic, greater than the empiristic, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Our final text this evening, text 47. Yoginam bhakti savesham magatinam taratmana Sardalhamna bhajate yomam same yuktatmatamata. And all the yogis who always abide in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is intimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. Returning to text 37. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Arjuna said, what is the destination of the man of faith who does not persevere, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later gives tests due to worldly mindfulness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Purport. The paths of self-realization or mysticism are described in the Bhagavad Gita. The basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it, and that his happiness is an eternal life, bliss and knowledge. These are transcendental beyond the both body and mind. Self-realization is sought by the path of knowledge. The practice of the eightfold system or by Bhakti Yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can reestablish the lost link and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above-mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the 2nd chapter. Even a little endeavor on the transcendental path offers a great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this age because it's the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and practice of the Eightfold Yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not befall in the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on illusionary energy. Consequently, wherever a person tries to escape the clutches of illusionary energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material nature, of material energy, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called yoga chalita manasya, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization. Oh yes, so tonight, again the translation, Arjuna said, what's the destination of the man of faith who does not persevere in the beginning, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization, but who later desists due to worldly mindfulness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism. So Arjuna is asking these questions. What about, the people who try, who start this process? What about them that end up failing in the long run? What happens to them? We've talked about in previous classes is Bhakti Yoga is basically the only thing that we can really invest our time into, that we are getting something back, something that sticks with us. Whatever little bit of devotion that we perform today will always be there. This can't be taken away. There's no dissolution in our service. Whatever advancement we make is never taken away. Unlike the material world, we can make such great advancements in the material world. We become, the world's richest person, acquire all the wealth in the world, buy businesses, be a kingpin, trade in the stock market, fly first-class jets, have a life of luxury. But in the end, death comes. You can't take that money with you. All that stays here. You can try to be the world's smartest person, go to the best universities, get all kinds of degrees. Become a PhD in all sorts of things. Get a Nobel Peace Prize maybe, for some sort of discovery you made. But in the end, death comes. You can't take all this knowledge with you. It stays here. It's an illusion. No matter what we strive for in this world, in this material world, even the ones who are, wanting to become the best athletes in the world, become Olympic gold medalists. In the end, old age takes them, and they're no longer the best. And eventually death takes them, and all the hard work they strive for, becoming the best in the world, well, that fades away, that stays here. It's an illusion. But Bhakti Yoga, it's one thing that we can invest our time in. That's going to stick with us from lifetime to lifetime. It's the only thing that's worthwhile to putting our time into it. That's a funny thing about this material world. Those who are caught in this material suffering, and chasing after these material things, wasting time is very much a pleasure. People go to extremes to waste time. Look how much time is wasted, people try and distract themselves from the present moment by watching TV, listening to the radio, watching sports. All these material activities that, just kind of waste time. Playing video games. I spent a lot of time playing video games in the past. Boy, that's a waste of time. No matter what, how good you are at that video game, well, it's just a game. What's good does it do? I just wasted 100 hours of my life playing a video game and what has it done? Nothing. Just entertain my senses. So it's a waste of time. But when we invest our time in bhakti yoga, that's a worthwhile investment. We're not wasting the time. It's really interesting that people are trapped in this material world. When they commit a crime, they are put away in prison, where they have to spend time, locked up. That's when they realize, and that's another way they find out, gosh, like solitary confinement, they don't know what to do, they want to be distracted. They want to waste the time. Move on to the next verse. Text 38. Almighty Lord Krishna, does not such a man, being deviated from the path of transcendence, perish like a ribbon cloud with no position in any sphere? Purport. There are two ways to progress. Those who are materialists have no interest in transcendence. Therefore, they are more interested in material advancement by economic development or in promotion to the higher planets by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so-called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendentalist fails, then he apparently loses both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position. He is like a ribbon cloud. A cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it's blown away by the wind and becomes a non-entity in the vast sky. The Brahmana Bhakti is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be a spiritual in essence. Part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is manifest as Brahman, Atman, and Bhagavan. Lord Sri Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma realization takes many, many births. Bahunam Jamanam Ante. Therefore, the supremmost of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, the direct method. Text 39. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for yourself, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. 4. Krishna is the perfect knower of the past, present, and future. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said that all living entities exist individually. past, and they exist now in the present, and that they continue to retain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from the material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Now Arjuna wants to know of the future of the unsuccessful transcendentalist. No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature cannot equal him. Therefore, the verdict of Krishna is a final, complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly. But no one knows him. Krishna and Krishna consciousness devotees alone can know what is what. Text 40. The translation, the Blessed Lord said, Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with the destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So, would you like to read the report?
In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17, Sri Narayana instructs Vyasadeva as follows: Tyatva satanam charanam bhujan hare bhajan apako tapate tato yadi yatra kovapat pranabhudan shyakim kovarta apto vajatam satanaka. Translation. If someone gives up all material prospects and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no loss or degradation in any way. On the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties and yet not gain anything. For material prospects, there are many activities, both scriptural and customary. Transcendentalist is supposed to give up all material activities for the sake of spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness. One may argue that by Krishna consciousness one may attain the highest perfection if it is completed, but if one does not attain such a perfectional stage, then he loses both materially and spiritually. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one has to suffer the reaction of not executing prescribed duties. Therefore, one who fails to discharge transcendental activities properly becomes subjected to these reactions. The Bhagavatam assures the unsuccessful transcendentalist that there need be no worries. Even though he may be subjected to the reaction of not perfectly executing prescribed duties, he is still not a loser, because auspicious Krishna consciousness is never forgotten, and one so engaged will continue to be so even if he is low-born in the next life. On the other hand, one who simply follows the prescribed duties need not necessarily attain auspicious results if he is lacking in Krishna consciousness. The purport may be understood as follows. Humanity may be divided into two sections, namely, the regulated and the non-regulated. Those who are engaged simply in bestial sense gratifications, without knowledge of their next life or spiritual salvation, belong to the non-regulated section, and those who follow the principles of prescribed duties in the scriptures are classified amongst the regulated section. The non-regulated section, both civilized and non-civilized, educated and non-educated, strong and weak, are full of animal propensities. Their activities are never auspicious because, enjoying the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, they perpetually remain in material existence, which is always miserable. On the other hand, those who are regulated by scriptural injunctions, and thus gradually rise to Krishna consciousness, certainly progress in life. Those who are then following the path of auspiciousness can be divided into three sections, namely, 1. Followers of scriptural rules and regulations who are enjoying material prosperity, 2. those who are trying to find out the ultimate liberation from material existence, and 3, those who are devotees in Krishna consciousness. Those who are following the rules and regulations of the scriptures for material happiness may be further divided into 2 classes. Those who are fruitive workers, and those who desire no fruit for sense gratification. Those who are after fruitive results for sense gratification may be elevated to a higher standard of life, even to the higher planes. But still, because they are not free from material existence, they are not following the true auspicious path. The only auspicious activities are those which lead one to liberation. Any activity which is not aimed at ultimate self-realization or liberation from the material bodily concept of life is not at all auspicious. Activity in Krishna consciousness is the only auspicious activity, and anyone who voluntarily accepts all bodily discomforts for the sake of making progress in the path of Krishna consciousness can be called a perfect transcendentalist under severe austerity. And because the Eightfold Yoga system is directed toward the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious, and no one who is trying his best in this matter need fear degradation.
Very nice. And that's why we were out there going Harinam today. We were out there meeting, singing to the people that are going to the World, FIFA, the World Cup soccer thing. So many were, getting in line to get loaded up on buses to go to that, to get to the stadium. There are so many people in this world that, they're not looking to escape. They're they're happy chewing the chew and, happy with this material world. They haven't had enough lifetimes chasing after this, so-called illusion. But that's why we're out there with chanting Hare Krishna, chanting the holy names of the Lord on Harinam, to awaken Krishna consciousness within them, to give them a fast pass back to Godhead, to reel them in. It's very interesting just to see how much people are willing to put themselves through to go to something they want to see. See these games being played out. It's like we got onto the streetcar and we were jam-packed in there. There's so many people, We were, packed in there like sardines, going to the destination to be, offloaded to the place where everyone was getting onto the buses, to be jam-packed into the buses, to go to the games. But yeah, people are willing to go, to go through these sacrifices for their sense enjoyments. And in the end, when the games are over, oh well, that sense enjoyment's gone to pass. You gotta wait for the next games to come around to have that same kind of happiness that they were seeking, whatever it was, and all the effort they had to go through, just to get to the stadium. And then think about it, once they're in the stadium, it's just now starting. So, for the past, we were there for over 2 hours doing Harinam for these people waiting in line to get into the bus, to get into the stadium. They're waiting in line to get into the bus, then they're going to be dropped off at the stadium to get into the line to get into the stadium. And once they're there, they're going to have, they have their games, and once the games are over, they're going to have to get into the line to exit the stadium. And to get into the line, to get onto the buses, to be dropped off, to get in the line, to get onto the streetcars and the buses, all for that little bit of sense enjoyment there at the soccer game. Man, that's a lot of sacrifice. I think Christian consciousness is a lot easier than that. At least we get to take our experience with us. Whew. But yeah, we were packed in there like sardines in a tin can, in that streetcar. Hundreds of people around us. They had no choice but to put up with us, our business. They had no choice but to listen to us while they were waiting in line. They had nowhere to go. We had them trapped. Move on to text 41. Any questions or comments so far? Text 41. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of aristocracy. Yeah, aristocracy. Yeah, that word. Purport. The unsuccessful yogi are divided into two classes. One has fallen after very little progress, and one has fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets, where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, he is sent back again to this planet to take birth in the family of the righteous Brahmanas, Vaishnava, or aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and fail to material allurements are allowed, by the grace of the Lord, to make full utilization of their material propensities. And after that, they are given opportunities to live in prosperous lives in righteous or aristocratic families. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness. Text 42. Or he takes birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Verily, such a birth is rare in this world. Report. Birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists. Those with great wisdom is praised herein, because the child born in such a family receives spiritual impetus from the very beginning of his life. It is especially the case in the acharyas or Goswami families. Such families are very learned and devoted by tradition and training, and thus they become spiritual masters. In India, there are many such acharya families, but they have now degenerated due to insufficient education and training. By the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalist generations after generation. It is certainly very fortunate to take birth in such families. Fortunately, both our spiritual master, Om Vishnupada, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord. And both of us were trained in devotional service of the Lord from the very beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system. text 43. Would you like to read 43, Dr. Caleb?
On taking such a birth, he again revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. Purport. King Bharata, who took his third birth in the family of a good Brahmana, is an example of good birth for the revival of previous transcendental consciousness. King Bharata was the emperor of the world, and since his time, this planet is known among the demigods as Bharata Varsha. Formerly it was known as Ilavarta Varsha. The emperor at an early age retired for spiritual perfection, but failed to achieve success. In his next life, he took birth in the family of a good Brahmana, and was known as Jada Bharat, because he always remained secluded and did not talk to anyone. And later on, he was discovered as the greatest transcendentalist by King Rahugana. From his life, it was understood that transcendental endeavors, or the practice of yoga, never go in vain. By the grace of the Lord, the transcendentalist gets repeated opportunities for complete perfection in Krishna consciousness.
Text 44.
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist striving for yoga stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Purport. Advanced yogis are not very much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33a, such disregard of Vedic rituals by the advanced transcendentalist is explained as follows. Aho patashva pachoto gariyam yachiva grevartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juvu shashna arya brahmanu turnama primantiyete. O my Lord, persons who chant the holy names of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in families of dog-eaters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. The famous example of this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Thakur Haridas as one of his most important disciples. Although Thakur Haridas happened to take his birth in a Muslim family, he was elevated to the post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya due to his rigidly attended principle of chanting 300,000 holy names of the Lord daily. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And because he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, it is understood that in his previous life he must have passed through all the ritualistic methods of the Vedas, known as Shabda Brahma. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take to the principle of Krishna consciousness, nor become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ah, that's very nice. So just being here, sitting here in the temple, you did something right in a past life. By Krishna's mercy, by Krishna's grace, he arranged for all of us to be sitting here today. It's a wonderful opportunity. We should all take advantage of it. No one comes through these doors by accident. It's all Krishna's arrangement. Text 45. But when the yogi engages himself in sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately, after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Report. A person born in a particularly righteous aristocratic or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable conditions for executing yoga practice. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished tasks, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contaminations. When he is finally freed from all contaminations, he attains the supreme perfection. Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being free of all contamination. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Yeshan Tatna Katam Papam Jananam Punya Kamanyam Jayatna Tatna Moha Nimutta Vachati Mam Jita Pradata. After many, many births of executing pious activities, when one is completely freed from all contamination and from all illusory dualities, one then becomes engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. It's like that is our time for tonight. Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Tomorrow we start with chapter 7. Absolute knowledge of the absolute. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
You might like start the meal right just a little bit. I didn't eat that much. It's just like you have at least sit for like 15 minutes. I want to start it. You got
What is the feeling like an actual crack?
just like a little bit.
How you doing, man? You good? I look good. You want to look good? You have some